What's good, y'all? Listen, look, I'm mad I even gotta say this.
Why are we acting like this is not
There's nothing wrong with hate. You've got to hate some things with a passion. And destruction, they must dislike and hate with a passion.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl ZZ back with another video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on my notifications bell, get us on a thumbs up, share this mug, all that. Okay, so today's video, we are reacting to this sister right here. I seen her TikTok. I feel like I've seen like one or two, maybe like 2 or 3 of her TikToks before, but this is one that stuck out to me. I don't know if she's FBA. I think she is from the way that she's speaking. We're gonna get into it. But some of the other things I've heard her say too, I think she is FBA. So, but let's get into it. I think she has an interesting perspective. Let's review.
Never be free because they don't want to be free. Black folks will never be free because they don't want to be free. And the ones that want to be free don't know how to be free. Was a phrase my mother beat into our heads since we were children. And up until I started my own like organizing and political activism work, I thought she was bugging. But moms are right. A few months ago, when the 92% were sending this one out, we did our part. Don't let them cajole you outside, as if the dominant cultural group with a shitload of power needs to cajole you to do anything. They can just make you do it, as has happened historically. When all of that talk started and I said that y'all were the descendants of the ones Harriet left behind, y'all were like laying into me like I called you everything but a child of God. And it's like, why, when you're still doing this? Any Black person that I know in real life or is mutuals on platforms that are talking about grassroots organizing, mutual aid, showing themselves doing various levels of community works. There are like an alarming amount of Black people discouraging them from doing so. And if we were truly as a community capable of having hard conversations, of looking ourselves in the mirror and really reconciling with where we fail, we would be honest about the fact that a lot of Black folk thought they inherited revolutionary works. They didn't think they'd have to add to them. People have
Now, I do agree with that. Honestly, there is a level of Black pessimism that has taken over too many foundational Black Americans. Okay, I touched on this before. When it comes to specifically reparations, some of the first things you hear these self-loathing Negroes will be like, "We ain't getting no damn reparations. That's a dream. What do you mean we ain't getting reparations? We ain't getting reparations. That was 400 years ago. They ain't paying. They could have been paid. Why did they pay us then? They ain't gonna watch. They're gonna give us reparations. Then they're gonna change the currency. We ain't gonna never get." It's like, damn. Like, where is your sense of optimism, brother? Do you realize that we were put in this position for a divine reason? Like, we are meant to liberate ourselves. You sitting here saying that, oh, this and that and this and that and this and that and other is not going to work doesn't help the problem. It doesn't add to our progress at all. So even if you disagree with how, and this is another thing too, I'm glad she brought this up, even if you disagree with how someone is going about their activism, disagree with it. Don't sit up there and bring that person down because you don't think that's the right way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many weird perspectives when it comes to that Black optimism. You know, the Black people that practice that or have that suffer from that, should I say. But yeah, I see it and I dislike that. Okay, that is an egregious part of our community that truly believes that we will never see progress, you know, or that this is enough. Even on the other hand, even on the other side is that some Negroes really believe that this is enough. We don't need reparations. We don't need, like, what do you mean? It's people to fight here. It's people fighting to be in our position. Why would we need to do anything? Why are we fighting? There ain't no system. You know, some of these, you know, programmed Negroes, ain't no more racism around. Racism is yesterday's problem. We're dealing with new problems. Capitalism is the problem. You know, so some of these Negroes really have, let me say the white supremacists has done a supreme job on confusing a lot of Negroes, okay? And again, having them indulge in Black pessimism, okay? Because there is always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, okay? If that was the case, baby, we would still be in chains. Our ancestors fought, okay? Just like she said, not all of them, because like, Harry had to leave some of them Negroes behind. Those are Negroes we talk about. I agree. Some of these are descendants of them Negroes, and that's why they still, you know, that's why they still think we at, okay? So yeah, I totally agree. But I will say, interestingly enough, she is from New York. I can tell by her accent. So I'm like, is she FBA? I hope she is. I hope she's FBA. Talking like this. But moreover, I think up north, more Negroes might feel this way. You know, I feel like up north, a lot of Negroes at least feel this way from more of like an elitist perspective. You know, like there's no racism. We're dealing with capitalism. It's other issues, you know, so on and so forth. Whereas in the South, and a part of that, let me go back to the North. A part of that in the North is because there's so many tethers up there. That's why I'm like, I hope this ain't no tether. But it's so many tethers in New York. There's so many non-foundational Black Americans surrounded and mixed in with Black Americans that those perceptive, like, you know, it's like, it's hard for me to sit up here and say that maybe some of the things she's experienced were not from Black Americans. Maybe they were from tethers, because there's a lot of tethers that come over here with that Black pessimistic mentality. They don't think we need to be fighting any further. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King did enough. We good. We just come in here to benefit now. So, you know, I'm like, that might be a bit different up there, you know, but I will say even down south, there's a bit of a dormant, you know, like there's a bit of a comfortability, but within the structure of fear more so. Like there may be some Negroes who think that, I'm not to say that there are some Negroes that they would think that racism ain't real, capitalism, but because racism is not as covert down there, it's a lot more overt, especially the further you go down south, the more rural areas you get into. They still got sundown towns, okay? So Black people don't have a choice but to be aware of the situation we in and what we need to do to get out of it, to further ourselves out of it. But yeah, even within that, there are some Negroes who fear, you know, who are living in fear. And so from that, they're like, you know what, we don't need to do nothing else. Like, this is good. I don't want to risk, you know, the white supremacists taking any more of my land or taking any of my family or threatening my life or putting me in jail. I'm not trying to go through that shit. My ancestors went through enough. We here. Okay, I got me a little land, got me a good job. We straight. So, you know, both sides. Egregious, but I get where you're coming from.
Have turned their grief into a sword of apathy. And that is so deeply concerning to me, because ultimately that's what this is. Prolonged grief. A lot of Black folks are figuring out, perhaps for the first time in their life, that they did not truly inherit freedom, but rather inherited steps toward it, which required them to continue on. And that's something a lot of people haven't yet reconciled with. It's the reason why a lot of Black folks think that capitalism will save us, or separatism/segregation will save us, because you haven't grieved the fact that you are intended to do works if your ultimate goal is self-determination for Black folk.
Well, let me say, separatism is a part of saving us. I disagree with that. Separatism is a part of the solution. We need to separate, period. I understand that we will still have problems within our separation because, again, we're talking about some of the problems we have within our community. So even if we were to, and, you know, even if tomorrow we were to pick up and all just go to 3 different states, or every Black person in America just in 3 different states, and we, you know, we're taking control of these. Even if that were the case, we're still going to have some problems, at least for another few hundred years, to be honest, because of the effects of white supremacy it has had on us. So, yeah, it's going to be problems, but that doesn't mean that a part of the solution ain't separation. Separation is absolutely the solution. It's absolutely the best thing we could possibly do is to get away from these, people who are trying to exploit us and have been exploiting us for the last 400 years. So, yeah, separation is key. I disagree with that.
Goal is liberation. You inherited an uncompleted project and you don't want to have to finish it. And there's a host of factors that play into this, but like this increased indifference and apathy that is being framed as revolutionary and pro-Black is where I'm concerned. I don't care if you want to sit out doing shit. I care if you try to act like sitting out is the revolutionary response. A lot of people want to sit out because they know that ultimately they inherited an incomplete project.
And I will say sitting out in the sense that, because she's already made it kind of clear that she's talking about activism work and things of that nature. But I will say sitting out it can be a form of activism. You know, us not participating, that Couch 2025, hashtag Couch 2025 from the election last year, effective. You know, even us, this whole Target DEI and, you know, all these other places, DEI, us sitting out, effective. You know, they numbers is, instead of us going from one store to another one, we're just, okay, we can just back out of all of the stores. We just back out all the stores. That's effective. You know what I'm saying? So certain things, and I guess I can get what she means, because although we're sitting out doesn't mean that's the only thing we're doing. You know, we're sitting out, but we're buying with Black menaces. We're sitting out, but we're voting locally. We're sitting out, but we're, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I get what she's saying, but I do want to make it clear that sitting out can be a part of the solution as well.
And they are not going to be able to finish it. That stirs a lot of feelings in here that people don't know what to do with yet, making them obfuscate the function of these works, of mutual aid, of organizing, which has, again, always been a long game. When I made the video a few years back on Haitian Independence Day, which is the new year, I impressed upon people that it was a 13-year-long war, because it was. A lot of Black people in my comments did not know that. But also, a lot of people didn't know there were, prior to the Haitian Revolution, hundreds of revolts that led up to the circumstances that allowed this to happen. If you are a descendant of chattel slavery, you have ancestors, potentially.
Similar to here, Gullah Geechee War, baby. We went to war. People hear about Nat Turner, I think that's it, baby, or Harriet Tubman. We went to war with these white supremacists. They didn't just set us free because because of their moral compass, and that's what they would like you believe. But just like the Haitians, yes, we fought our way to freedom, or to the amount of access to freedom that we have today. But we fought for show.
Again, everybody doesn't come from like an inherently revolutionary background, but you potentially have ancestors who lived and died in chains and still made shit shake because they knew someone could potentially inherit that one day, and they wanted to prevent that outcome. There's an underling of sacrifice that a lot of people are not prepared to do. And it's that knowledge that is promoting Black people to shift the terms of pro-Blackness, of revolutionary thought and activity, to be one of apathy, to be one of sitting down. And it's especially weird for me because I have a video going viral right now from last week talking about the fact that we are ultimately in the States in a white-Black racial conflict, as we have been since chattel slavery began here. And a ton of Black people in my comments are agreeing. So if you genuinely do think that's the case, what is singing out going to do for you? If you understand truly you're the ultimate target. A few months ago, when I came on here and talked about this shit, it made me angry. Now I'm just kind of sad for y'all.
Just to play Coon's advocate. You know, yeah, sitting out, you're still gonna be a target sitting out and a target participating. To some Negroes, it's like, well, shit, I might as well save my energy. I might as well get out and be a target. I might as well get drunk and be a target. And you know, that's a side effect of white supremacy. But I get it. You know, I can understand it. So we are in a hell of a predicament. This society will drive you insane. I think, what was the brother name? Baldwin. What's the brother name? What's the brother name? Baldwin. That's on the top of my head. I don't know why I can't think of his first name. But he was saying, he had a beautiful quote, very complex quote that I think matches or describes the mentality of Black people. I think he was talking about black men specifically, but Black people in America. And it was something like, every Black man in America is insane, or you can't be a Black man in America and not be insane, or going, or enraged, or, you know, something to that degree. I know I'm messing up the quote. Let me look it up right quick. Let me just find it. What's his name? James Baldwin. That's his name.
That's a really hopeless place to be. That's the only way you can like really rationalize it. If you don't think that there will ever be a better outcome, or rather the outcome that you get, even if it is better, because it is not total freedom, because it's not total liberation, because it is not full self-determination, you don't think it's worth seeking. That's the spirit of people who gave up. And that's saddening. To spend my entire life being coached into the belief that Black folks have this indomitable spirit. We will always rise up against oppression. And then, I don't know. And something I've been thinking about for the past few days, because a lot of us were raised in some level of Christian tradition, typically. For as the body without a spirit is dead, faith without works is dead also. Believing you deserve freedom, believing you deserve liberation, believing that your children should have full access to self-determination is not enough, because faith without works is dead. For all of our hooting and hollering, I think a lot of people are losing sight of the fact that you inherited a bounty. You were not born in the most barbaric and cruel iterations of slavery. You are living in its derivatives, but even that is a privilege. And I think that if
that's a fact, I love the way she worded that. Let me just give her a compliment. I love the way she worded that. I don't even have nothing to say about that, honestly. I like the way she said that.
We as a culture truly venerated our ancestors more, if people understood the sacrifices that took place, the fact that quite literally dozens of generations never saw freedom, they were born and died in shackles for you, you could not be talking like this. You could not genuinely think sitting back would do anything for you now or for your children later. They don't.
That does make me bring back my point of tethers, though. Up in New York, all them tethers don't realize the work. It's just like even Cleo Trapper, who I just did a video responding to, and she was like, yeah, Southerners can't dress. It's like, you don't understand her saying that. There were so many New Yorkers in my comments that was like, because I was combating what she said. Y'all can go check it out. It's on TikTok. But there was so many New Yorkers in my comments like, nah, that's that non-Black American talk. We know Southerners could dress. We got family from the South. We know da-da-da. So it's like, again, their perspective is skewed. It's not the same as ours. They don't understand the work that our ancestors really had to put in. They just see the benefits. They just see the privileges, the derivatives of freedom that we have now. You know what I'm saying? That she was saying, like, this is, they don't see it within its full scope. Okay. And that is true for some Black Americans as well. But I think it's because she up north. She might be seeing it a little more. I'm just saying.
Have to cajole you to do shit. This country bombed a city block in Philly in 1985 over Pan-Africanism, gave us crack and guns as population control, and ensured they'd have a full-time slave population through incarceration. That's only possible because of the power their ancestors consolidated and that they are making sure is maintained. And similarly, your ancestors ensured you were not born during the worst iteration of enslavement you could have been. And I do think you owe it to them, as well as your future descendants, to move them further along. I thought we all understood that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that should be the ultimate goal for all foundational Black Americans. Again, whichever way that you want to contribute to our progress, you should be doing, you know, because the work is not over, and the work won't be there. It took them over 400 years to get us in this predicament. It's going to take us about another 400 to get us out, you know, and that's something that we're going to have to accept. We're going to have to accept that in my lifetime, I'm not going to see the freedom that I would like to see. I'm not going to see freedom that is not supposed to have limits on it. You know, even the way that we're wording this, the amount of freedom that we have access to now is just, that even feels a little, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to disrespect the ancestors because I understand what she's saying, you know, but freedom is not controlled. Freedom is not concealed. And we will never not live. I will not see Black America not living under this concealed freedom, you know, but preferably my children's children will. Preferably they get to see it, you know. But the only way that I can pray for that is that, or hope for that, is that I put in some work now, some sort of work, the most amount of work I can do, make some sacrifices, and contribute to our progress and dismantling the system so our children don't suffer the same things we did, you know? Yeah, beautifully said. I like the way that sister put that together. You know, what's her tag? Let me look. What's her TikTok name? Let me just see so I can tell y'all. Y'all go check her content out. What's her name? Shaking Sheets. I'm weak. Her name is Shaking Sheets. Pull it back up. That was not a name I expected. All right, Shaking Sheets. Yeah, that's her. That's her TikTok, okay? So y'all go check her out. It look like she's doing something good over there. I might follow her. So I don't think I follow her. Like I said, I only seen her content a couple times. But I like what I see so far. So, yeah, shout out to her. Continue your work. We'll let her see it. You are appreciated. Black people. All right, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Share this mug. All that. Other than that, baby, that's all I got. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Peace. Be one.
We do not play but our friends. You fuck with the team, might find your West in the creek. We crossing our T's, we don't never miss a beat.